how many jobs has RBS axed in the last year? The answer is an incredible 15,000.
Thanks very much. You're watching The Right Stuff. We're live on 5 with Anne Diamond, Anton Dubek and special guest Carol Deckham. As sort of come this morning, what is the point of a new lung cancer gene test that would tell smokers how likely they were to develop the disease? Would you stop if you knew, if the test told you you were extremely likely to develop cancer? And don't all smokers know that anyway? All those warnings on packets and so on? 0207 173 5555 is the number for your thoughts, wheezy or otherwise. Right now, though, is RBS right or wrong to offer a pay package to its new boss, Stephen Hester, that nudges the £10 million mark? The deal revealed yesterday offers Hester £1.2 million in salary, £1.6 million in bonuses, £420,000 a year in lieu of pension payments, and potentially a further £6.4 million in shares if he can help RBS virtually double its share price over the next 3 years, which is a big ask. But if he does it, we'll all benefit, won't we? Well, apart from those RBS made redundant. Did you believe Gordon Brown when he promised to get on top of excessive bonuses for bankers? City bonuses trebled, more than trebled, in the 5 years between 2003 and 2008. They were quite high in 2003. 2008, of course, is the year the credit crunch hit. Fat cats bought vast mansions with bonuses earned while they were destroying the global financial system. Most still have their baronial mansions and Ferraris, while 15,000 loyal RBS workers were shown the door as part of the stricken bank's cost-cutting measures. And that's before you look at the knock-on effect of the crunch. What have we got now? 2.26 million unemployed and rising. Thank heavens former RBS boss Sir Fred Goodwin has finally agreed to shave his pension from £700,000 a year to a modest £342,500. Now, if RBS was a private company, I guess they could pay staff what they want. The problem with Hester's pay deal is that his bank is actually our bank. Alistair Darling made us hand over £20 billion to bail out RBS in exchange for 70% stakeholding in the company. We're all shareholders then in RBS, and yet our representative on its board, UK Financial Investments, that's our representative, they think £10 million is a fair package. The question, Anne, is it?
Do you know, this shows, coupled with the election of that speaker yesterday, this shows that they've got nothing but contempt for us. Because I think we believe there was this big public outcry against the bankers, against excessive fat cat bonuses and all the rest of it, and even against sleaze in the House of Commons. And there has been an enormous outcry, hasn't there? You've never seen headlines like it in all of the newspapers, even the Daily Telegraph and all the rest of it. And yet it matters not a jot to them up there. It really doesn't. They go on taking the same decisions they were ever going to take. I think it shows nothing but contempt for us.
You've got the editor of the Daily Mail criticising everybody's pay packets, and his pay deal is worth £1.8 million. The Daily Mail doesn't generate any money for Britain. If this guy turns around RBS, he could get us back £20 billion.
I mean, this is a nationalised bank, and they were specifically, Gordon Brown said it, they were specifically going to do something about the ridiculous rates of pay in the banking world.
Yes, he did.
And this just shows that they haven't. And I think it's deliberate. And I think we're actually quite daft and thought that we were ever going to make any sort of difference to the way they think.
£6.4 million of this virtually £10 million deal, Anton, is attached to targets that I think a lot of people think that he can't achieve. So maybe if we cut £6.4 million off the package, you're looking at about £3.5 million to run RBS to get us our £20 billion back. Does that sound fair?
Do you know, this is such a sort of disappointing story on so many different levels, really, with what's been going on over the last, let's say, a year or 8 months or something like that. You have the whole problem about expenses in the House of Commons. We have the whole situation where the banks have crumbled because fundamentally and Vince Cable says here, it created a culture of excessive leverage, excessive risk, excessive bonuses, and it's led to the downfall of this financial system. And you have a chap here who's being paid a salary, and I don't really mind what a person gets paid in a salary. Now, in my day, in the old days, I'm sure as everybody else knows, if you get a salary, the requirement of you is to do your job well. For example, I'm sure you don't get bonuses for making sure you start at 9:15 and finish at 10:30 and you host an entertaining show in the morning. You don't get a bonus because... Well, because you've done your job.
Yeah, you get
you get basically to keep your job. Now, I'm not sure why he would receive £1.6 million pounds in bonuses.
It has to be. They will argue, the only argument they can offer is that is the market rate
I don't know, but that's an market rate generated by them.
That's the problem.
And they were going to change it.
But this is what was going to change. The bonus culture for me is an anathema. I just can't grasp the concept of having a bonus for doing your job well. The bonus was to keep your job and to be paid your salary. Now, get rid of the bonus. If you want to pay them a bit more as a basic salary, fine.
But if banks that haven't hit the wall are paying big bonuses...
Yeah, but the problem is, it's been like that, and what happened was everything crashed.
They were going to change
You
it.
have to stop.
You
have to draw a line in the sand and say, we can't carry on like this. For example, Formula One are having a nightmare at the moment, and they're saying, we want to spend lots and lots of money and build these cars for £100 million a year. Great. But in about 2 years' time, then you'll be racing against yourself.
Yeah.
Now, the same system is going to happen with the banks and the financial industry, is that it will not exist in a short amount of time. You might want to receive £1.2 million in bonuses, but there's not going to be a bank there for you to have a job. Your fundamental focus should be...
Well, there will always be a bank, Anton, because they'll keep coming back to us to bail it out, won't they?
But it can't continue. That's the point is, that cannot continue. Something's going to happen. And there will be banks that will... What was it, the Building Society, the Dundee Building Society or something? Building Society of...
Which one?
I can't remember. There's a Building Society, Dunfermline. Had to let it go. It's been there for about 100 years.
The Cheltenham and Gloucester, it's been raised off the map.
Well, it will happen. It will slowly, slowly, things will start to
I'm not so sure, because I say again, Carol, I think that if the doodle was to hit the fan again, they would come back to the public and we would have to bail it out.
We don't have a bottomless pit of cash.
I agree in principle with everything that Anton has just said, but you can't put the genie back in the bottle. You never can. And I can't see any of these big sort of heads of banking that are going to be guided by their morals and say, well, I'll stay with this bank because I think I'm earning enough and I want to do a good job. If the other bank will say, come to us and you can have 1.2 million, 1.5 million. It's just
the trouble is
the
RBS one gets approved, so will the Lloyds one, so will Barclays. I suppose they have less public money, so they can do what they like, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm overwhelmingly disappointed. Let's find out if you are too. Kirsty, what do people say?
Well, we have Sophia first, and she actually works for the RBS.
Oh, well, congratulations, Sophie, if you still have your job.
Only by the skin of my teeth, actually.
Right. Have you met many of your friends who have lost their jobs?
Yeah, a very good friend of mine just started maternity leave, and 2 weeks into maternity leave was told actually she had no job to go back.
So you must be thrilled then that your new boss is being really well rewarded, because he's going to turn the bank around and ensure that you get to keep your job and that all of us get our taxes back.
I mean, there's two parts to that, really. No, I'm not happy because I've had a pay cut. A lot of my friends have had pay cuts. So, no, actually, why should he get paid so much when we don't get very competitive salaries anyway?
That's true.
To then be told, actually, well, you're getting even less than what you're already getting. And the other half of that is that everything that we do is target-driven, and there are so many members of staff off with stress, depression, because actually they can't meet the targets. They say things like, oh, unless you do 4 loans, you can't go home today, and it's that tough. So he won't, have to worry about the targets, but the cashiers and the branch managers who are being told that they're rubbish and they've got to sell 15 credit cards in order to go on their lunch break will do.
Well, I say again, I mean, the banks will turn around and they will say that this is the market rate to get the best guy out there to run the bank and steer it into profit.
But they said that about Fred Goodwin, they've said that about managers before, and he got us into the biggest mess yet, and he was by all accounts, a horrid man. I mean, I did a fun run I did 50k fun run, and he wouldn't even sponsor me. So that just shows actually where his money goes. It was all on his nice big house. And
do you think Gordon Brown should have done a bit more apart from go, yeah, we're going to get on top of expenses and bonus culture?
I think that the bonus culture hasn't changed. What's happened is the branch managers and the other staff aren't getting bonuses, but as you can see, the big bosses still are. We're not. Wow. We used to get a bonus every March as a, well done, thanks for working for us. They stopped that this year, and we're not going to get that now, but he gets...
well, if he meets his target, Sophia, which is the key part to the equation, he'll get...
His targets will only be generated by this late
Well,
Sophia.
that's another point.
The nature of bonuses for the more workaday staff becomes you are pressurised, as you were saying. you don't meet your bonus, you're in trouble. He doesn't have that pressure if he
Well,
doesn't
he
make
won't get his
bonus.
extra £5 million. Thank you for the call, Sophia. Let's have another, please.
We have Jim, and he thinks it's a good thing.
Oh, good. Jim, morning.
Hi, Matthew, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. It's a fair deal for a fair day's work, then?
No, well, my argument is I think if you're going to have a top man for a top job, you've obviously got to pay him money.
Yeah.
But what I'm against is the bonuses because, you know, we as taxpayers own 70% of that bank, and I think the bonuses should be, if there's going to be any, should be determined by the government, you know, on our behalf.
If you take the bonus equation out of it, the bonus bit out of the equation, that's £8 million removed. He's on less than £2 million for running the bank, and then you're saying leave it to the government to pay whatever they deem a suitable reward.
If he turns the bank around, I think it's their prerogative to turn the bank around because otherwise there wouldn't have been a bank if it wasn't for the money invested in them by the taxpayer.
I have to say,
I can't see the argument on that.
I have to say, sometimes I look around and wonder, wouldn't we all have been a lot better off if we'd actually let the bank crash and maybe the government had just given us some of our own taxes back direct rather than filtering through a bank where everybody creams off the profits for the chief exec.
Successful bank is a happy workforce, not a happy workforce.
Yeah. Jim, thank you for the call, but I mean, that would have been the sensible compromise, wouldn't it? Is pay him a decent salary, let the government, hopefully us MPs, decide what the bonus should be.
Shouldn't be a bonus. Just pay him a salary, do your job better.
OK. After the ads, we're asking what's the point of this new lung cancer gene test for smokers. I mean, if you knew you didn't have the gene, you'd carry on smoking and then you'd die of heart failure. But what if the test told you had an 80% chance of developing lung cancer? How would that warning differ from the ones you see on the side of fag packets, such as smoking causes cancer? 0207 173 5555 is the number for your thoughts. Tell me, what is the point of a gene test for smokers? We'll take your calls on this after the ads.
How much does the Respirogene lung cancer test cost? £150, £300 or £450? Find out after the ads.